I think there are a couple ways that companies can get ahead of it. One is to operate under the assumption that interconnection will be challenging if it isn't already. And this goes for companies that are even just working with small rooftop systems. Just because you're not having issues today doesn't mean that they will not come. They're going to come. And so it's very easy to build kind of this habit of operating processes under the assumption that things are going to keep going that way. Companies need to realize right away, like, you can't operate under that. It's really important to build the processes on the understanding of how interconnection rules work and to build in the process for when things fail, when an application goes in and the utility says we have too much solar on that circuit already, so we can't interconnect this. A company that's planning sees that rejection and has time to figure it out. A company that's not maybe has an opening in their schedule and just installs systems as they come and says, hey, we had this project we were planning to build 6 weeks from now, but we had another project that got postponed. Let's move this one up. And they may not be checking to see whether it has utility approval. And there have been a number of companies around the country that have been in that situation where they relied on older processes, put in a system, and then were told that it couldn't be connected. And that becomes a financial problem. It becomes a customer expectation problem. So some of it starts internally, right? And it's making sure that the processes are built and durable. There's really clear understanding of the rules. When the rules are bad, there's also a ton of other opportunity, right? Like, the utilities struggle when the rules aren't done well either, because like really good rules actually drive the type of process that's needed. I think about it like, if somebody gives me all the options in the world, that's overwhelming, right? And that's sometimes what happens with utilities. It's like the state has chosen not to regulate a certain set of projects. So it may be, the rules didn't envision what community solar projects might look like. And now a utility just had several hundred applications for megawatt scale projects. And all of a sudden it's got to cut it from whole cloth, right? Versus having like really strong interconnection regulations that help to guide that. So building really strong relationships, person to person relationships with utilities is another way to be involved in this, so that as utilities are struggling with how to deal with these processes, you've got someone there who you can talk through the various, what are the utilities struggling with? What's the solar industry struggling with? And having those conversations to figure out where are the common ground that actually, like, good interconnection procedures serve both parties, even though at times they're at odds. And then if a company's big enough, there are working groups that go on surrounding interconnection in various states. There are regulatory proceedings that go on. And the voice of practitioners who are on the ground dealing with these issues can be extremely powerful, because otherwise this is just a big abstract conversation between utility lawyers, sometimes utility engineers, and utility commission staff that often are themselves lawyers and maybe don't have technical backgrounds. And so like bringing those stories of how these things actually impact the day-to-day work of integrating clean energy into the grid is really, really powerful. It's hard because it's different than going out and selling to customers. It's different than building things, designing things, servicing them. But folks that are able to bridge that gap between the technical on the ground reality and be able to be in the room and have the conversation in a way that is diplomatic can have enormous amount of influence.